Okay, we're good? Okay, we're good. Right, welcome everybody to Dundee and Angus College. My name's Stephen McGregor. I'm Head of Learning for Sports and Fitness. We've got Ewan Peacock, who is one of the course leaders at the Gardyne campus within Sports and Fitness. And we're going to present to you today some information on our new sports performance course, okay, and specifically on the kind of the rugby pathway. Also for people that are online, then if you have any questions, then if you'd like to email e.peacock@dundeeandangus.ac.uk, then we can hopefully answer your questions as the presentation goes ahead. If you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to stick your hand up, but there will be an opportunity at the end for you to ask questions as well. Okay. Right, so the sports performance course, what's the aims of the sports performance course? Well, I guess first and foremost, and you'd be pleased and want to know, is that it's actually about developing your own performance and you as an individual athlete. Now, we have the rugby pathway, but we also have people from other sports coming on the pathway as well, or on the course itself. And I guess the main focus of the course is to identify your own strengths and weaknesses as a player, as an athlete, and over the course of the academic year, you have that opportunity then to focus on what those strengths and weaknesses are in partnership with either your club or your academy, with us to actually look to improve on those weaknesses to improve your overall performance. Okay. In terms of the course aims, that there are really three. So one is around your performance, one is around your academic development, and we're mindful that, you know, as part of a full-time educational course, there should be some academical development as well. And the third part is in terms of around coach development or employability, because again, people that come through on a full-time course, we need to consider what the step-off points are. So if you come and do a course with us for a year, where are you then moving on to? And there are various progression opportunities for you. And ultimately that might mean employment. Okay, so that's another strategic aim of the course. So in terms of performance development, you'll be pleased to know that the course is highly practical. Okay, so in terms of that practical course, we would anticipate at least 6 hours. At least 6 hours of the course will be, for you guys, would be pitch development. Okay, so actually going out on pitch, looking at technical, tactical awareness, and aspects like that. There's also areas like strength and conditioning, which again would be very, very practical. Okay, so we would be looking for a minimum of 2 or 3 sessions a week in terms of strength and conditioning, very personalised to you. It's not a generic program. Again, it would be working either with your club or the academy to make sure that you know, the program is sufficient in terms of meeting everybody's needs. In terms of that, the course is, as I say, incredibly practical, and what we're trying to do is continually, everything we do as part of that course is looking at how we can improve your own sports performance. Okay. In terms of academic development, we see that as a strength as well. Whenever you're on a performance course, whenever you are a performance athlete, you always have to remind yourself the what if question. What if I don't make it? What if I don't get a professional contract? What if I get injured? And I think from our perspective as an organisation, we wanted to make sure that actually it's important that you continue your learning. We have students probably in front of us that are currently either at National 4 level, National 5 level, maybe higher, maybe advanced higher. So what we have to do is to see whether or not we can continue to work on your academic ability. And I'll talk a bit more about that in terms of our pathways and our options after. Because it might be that you do the sports performance year 1, we're talking about a sports performance year 2, but then what do you do? What do you go, what if you've still not made that contract, what do you do in year 3? Okay, and for us that's important. In terms of coaching development, the other aim of the course is, as I said, is around kind of the employability. Now, I've put coaching development. It doesn't necessarily have to be coaching. There's a strong emphasis of coaching within the course. So whatever sport, you guys are coming through from a rugby pathway, we would expect as part of the course that you actually engage in coach education and that you actually go out, deliver coaching sessions as part of this course. And again, from our perspective, it's an opportunity to look at the broader picture in that potentially that's a career for you. Okay, it's asking that question. Well, if I don't make it as a professional player, or if I don't get that contract, then what are my options? And for some people, certainly within the sports and fitness industry, who come through us and our other courses, well, it's coaching, and coaching is a real opportunity to get a career. And again, there's different types of coaching. So there's strength and conditioning coaching, psychology, nutrition. There's various aspects, but obviously there's also the technical and tactical coaching. Okay, so this is kind of the nuts and bolts of the course. The course is predominantly made up of SQA units, so it is certificated. Okay, it's 18 credits and it's SCQF 5 and 6 and there's a bracket. Some optional units at level 7. Okay, so depending on depending on kind of where you're coming, what point you're stepping on, depends on kind of what's on offer to you, and that can be an open and honest conversation in terms of where we feel you are and where you feel you are in terms of making those decisions. The course has 2 national progressional awards, which is basically a series of units. And one is around kind of technical and tactical performance, and one is around coaching. Okay. The other units that are part of the course are what we call locally devised, and they've been developed and designed by us and our partners to supplement the course, to make the course what we feel is a better course. It reduces some of the assessment burden if they're locally devised, because you don't necessarily have to have a formal assessment for them. But we are, we spent a lot of time working with our partners to make sure that actually those locally devised units, again, complement the course and focus on improving your performance. All sessions that you do are logged, and that again supports that kind of whole review process. So you can sit down with either the academy or ourselves, and you can start looking at these strengths and weaknesses, and you can continually review them. Okay. And obviously, yes, there is an academic element of the course, so therefore we do expect some studying and some written work, and yes, there are some assessments that you have to do. Okay. Unlike National 5s or Highers, there are no exams. Okay, so we are purely modular. So you work throughout the academic year, and you succeed as you go along. Okay, so the Achieving Excellence in Sport is the NPA. That's all about your performance. That's all about you identifying what it is you need to do, and that's at SCQF level 6. So if for those of you that may or may not be familiar with what SCQF level 6 is, that's the equivalent of higher. Okay. Coaching NPA is at level 5. There is an element, we have a unit in anatomy and physiology, which again we can offer at either level 5, 6 or 7, so depending on an individual's academic ability or experience, we can tailor that. If it was the level 7, the likelihood is you'd be going along to one of our HNC classes in sports coaching or fitness, health and exercise, and doing the full HN unit alongside them. Sports injuries we feel is important, not only in terms of sports injuries, i.e. what type of injuries you get, but also how to avoid them, remediation, how you can reduce the amount of injuries that you have, which obviously for performance athletes is important. You may or may not like the next 3, communications, IT and numeracy. Okay, for us, irrespective of what course you come on, certainly within sports and fitness, we want to develop those. Okay, if you're going to go out and coach, then you have to have good communication skills. If you're going to go out into the workplace at any point, again, you need to have good communication skills. Sport is developing into an ICT technology-driven industry, so the whole analysis is based around ICT. Data, statistics. So we feel that that's important, and that's why that also sits with numeracy. If we've got people coming through who maybe have hires, we would then maybe look at not necessarily doing the equivalent in terms of communications at a higher level, but what we would maybe look at is things like introduction to research to help people potentially, if they have academic aspirations of going on to university, it would certainly support them going on to university. So again, there are options around those communications, IT and numeracy. Strength and conditioning. So again, depending on the level of experience and the level of academic ability, every athlete will have 2 to 3 S&C sessions a week, but depending on where your academic ability is, that will depend on whether or not you're on 5, 6 or 7. Okay, 7 is the equivalent of HNC, first year degree. Okay. The next bit we think is really important, personal development plan and guidance. That's kind of your career management stuff. So, you know, it's asking the questions, what are your short, medium and long-term goals? How do you anticipate getting there? What do you need to do? What happens if you don't achieve any of them? What happens if you don't, get that contract? So what are your other options? Okay. Now, you know, we've got rugby players in front of us. We've had conversations with football clubs. Football can be fairly brutal. And, you know, one year you've got a contract, the next year you haven't. So there's always that conversation in terms of, well, what are your other options and what are you doing to prepare? I watched a video fairly recently of a player and he was talking about during his professional career actually having other interests and developing a step off. So when he finished his playing career, he didn't have nothing. He actually had various projects that he was able to go into. So again, I think as part of that kind of planning and guidance, it's important to start having those conversations of you know, what are your other interests. What underpins the whole performance course is again things around sports science, so nutrition, psychology, performance analysis. Some of these are locally devised, but yeah, a strong emphasis around the sports science. And as part of our, as part of the department, we have analysis software. We use GPS heart rate monitors. So we use technology as and when we see fit. So those are that's the breakdown of the course. Progression. So if you come next year, where do you go? Okay, so after your year, for me, I guess there are maybe 4 options. Okay, so you get your level 2 or level 3, depending on what level you're already on with the academy. Okay, or you get your professional contract. That's maybe an option. For us, progression within college. So in terms of progression within college, the qualifications that you'll have as part of your course here will have currency. So you will have certification. So your interest may not be in a sports and fitness course, but that doesn't mean that you can't then go and do one of our hundreds of other courses that we have within the college. Okay, so you know, across the college we have there are 19 different curriculum areas that you potentially would have access to after your sports performance course. We're still in conversations about whether or not we're going to have a second year of a sports performance course, and I guess that depends on demand during the first year as well. Okay. In terms of progression within the college, certainly for sports and fitness, we go from pretty much this course, SEQF 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So our students can go up to the equivalent of a second year degree. What they can get that second year degree in is either sports coaching and development or fitness, health and exercise. And we have guaranteed places for those students who are successful direct into third year at Abertay. And there are 5 degrees that you can pick direct into third year, having achieved an HND with us in either the fitness, health and exercise or the sports coaching and development. And those are sports development, sports coaching, physical activity and health, strength and conditioning, and exercise sports science. If you have an interest in something like sports psychology or sports nutrition, then you wouldn't go into third year. Certainly sports psychology, you'd probably have to go back into year 1 because it's you have to register with the psychology awarding body for that, because it's a medical qualification. In terms of progression out with college, depending on what you've got already before you come into college, it might mean that you want to fast track, or you may want to go direct into university or another further educational college. Okay, so that might be another option for you at the end of the year. And for some of you, it might be that actually you've had your education for now. If you've left school and you've done however many years going through primary and secondary, and you've done a year at college, you might actually think, well, I want to go and get a job. Okay, and again, what we feel is that the course will prepare you, not only in terms of your own performance, but will prepare you in terms of being able to apply for other jobs. Okay, because the course will develop things like confidence and communication and resilience. You'll be another year maturer. So these are all things that are potentially transferable. So what does college life look like? Well, it's a full academic year, runs from August through to May. Okay, it runs over 32 weeks. We run 2 16-week semesters. So we have pretty much an academic year that goes up to Christmas. You then have your Christmas holidays. You then start your second semester and you go through to May. Okay, so that's 32 weeks. And for us, what we're looking at is 16 hours a week. That's when you'd be in. Okay, so Monday to 4 days a week. And again, we're sitting down with partners to have a look at what is the best in terms of those 4 days. It's quite complicated because even working with different football clubs, they have different times and different dates where they have matches and things like that. So we're going to try and sit down with the academy and have a look at, well, what is going to be best for you guys in terms of you know, which days of the week, because we're conscious that you'll have games on different days, and we need to make sure that you know, that's not conflicting. We also appreciate that there needs to be a flexible approach to the practical elements. So from our perspective, we don't want to overtrain you. We don't want you to burn out. We obviously, as part of the course, we need to gather evidence on your performance and your technical ability. So we need to actually make sure that you know, we're not duplicating. Okay, that we're actually making sure that we're getting the evidence where we can. Okay. So why study at Dundee and Angus College? The results came out in January. They come out for the whole of Scotland every year in January, and as a department, Dundee and Angus College Sports and Fitness Team has the highest success rate for both further education and higher education. Okay, so 83% of our students enrol and achieve the full award. Okay, that's 20% above the national average for further education and about 12% above the national average for higher education. Okay, so from our perspective, what's that based on? Well, we've got an excellent environment for you to develop and realise your ambitions. There you go, thank you. You guys have obviously been in and seen the facilities. I think you use the facilities. How many of you use the facilities coming in on maybe a weekly basis? Yeah? So everyone's seen the facilities today, been out on the fields? You've been in the S&C? Had a look at the performance centre?
You bring over it to me.
Sorry.
You hold over that.
I can hold it however you want me to.
That's fine.
Is that better?
No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Right, good. So, yeah, sector-leading facilities. We were lucky enough, 2 years ago, we invested 120,000 into a new fitness facility. Through Scottish Rugby, we've then developed a performance centre. So Scottish Rugby donated or put into the agreement £35,000 worth of kit. We provided the space. There's the performance analysis room next door. We have a swimming pool here. So again, as part of the course, what we decided was if you're playing on a Saturday and you maybe want to come in and use the pool on a Sunday morning for kind of rehabilitation and just to come in, then again, those facilities would be available for you. And I guess, you know, rugby wasn't my sport. I tried it. I played for a couple of years at school. I went to university and then saw the size of some of the people at university and thought, maybe that's not for me. But all the time, what my sport was water polo. And I was fortunate enough to play for Great Britain. However, nothing like this existed for me. For me, when I went through school, it was very much, you know, pretty much the only option was be a PE teacher, so that's what I became. But from my perspective, to have an opportunity to focus for a year on something that you're passionate about, to see actually with a year's real focus, what can I achieve? For us, that's the real selling point of the course. And because we're going to be working in partnership with the regional academy, because we'll be utilising some of the staff from the academy, for us that's a real selling point. I think the other thing to recognise is that it's individual to you. Okay, we have in the past run football performance, and it wasn't about a team, it wasn't about a squad, it was about individual players. So, you know, if I've got 20 front row players in front of me, then so be it. It doesn't matter. We're not interested in developing a team. We're interested in you as an individual. Okay, so wherever you're currently at in terms of position, whatever level you're currently at, as long as you're kind of on that performance pathway and you have that potential, then you'd be someone that we would be interested in. In terms of the process, I think from our point, applications are live. Okay, as a department, we have already received in excess of 300 applications. Okay, it's only been open since the 14th of January. So normally, as a department, across all of our sports and fitness courses, we normally get about 2 or 3 applications for maybe every one place we can give. Okay, so it is an online process. So if you are interested, then by all means, have a go at filling in the application. If you need support, that's available for you as well. Once you've completed that application, then we will have a look through your application and we'll obviously probably look to invite you in for an interview. Okay, and as part of that interview process, we'll ask for a letter of support or a reference from either the academy or your school or your club to ensure that actually, because we want to make sure that obviously everyone's at the right level in terms of that performance. Okay. Got a couple of people here from funding, so if anyone's got any funding questions, by all means you can ask them directly. And we know we had one of the conversation around accommodation. I think there's a few players from the Highlands and Islands that were interested as well. And again, we're now in dialogue. As a college, we have a list of preferred accommodation, but we're also in dialogue with Abertay University to see whether or not we can get access to halls and things like that if some of you are having to maybe relocate. Okay. I'm conscious that's about 20 minutes, which is probably about enough time of me speaking. So if anyone's got any questions, then happy to take them. Getting off easy. Any questions? Any questions?
Not coming through email yet.
Okay, but there's a minute delay, so we maybe have to wait a minute. Might be an awkward minute, but has anyone got any specific questions around funding or anything like that?
When they come in for the interview, how quickly do you find out whether they've got a place?
Relatively quickly. I mean, we have a.
Repeat it.
Sorry, so the question was, for our online viewers, the question was, if you come in for an interview, how long is it before you find out the decision? We as a college have a kind of a pledge, and that pledge is that you would find out within 2 to 3 weeks of that. We also have a pledge, so if any of you are school leavers, okay, the pledge is if you apply before the 31st of March, you will be guaranteed a place at college. That's not necessarily, and there's a caveat on the course that you have applied for, but we guarantee you a place. So if you're a school leaver, let's say you apply for a course and we don't feel that you're quite ready for that course, then we would guarantee a place on another course. Okay?
Will be in the sports department then?
The likelihood is yes. From our perspective, see, we're fortunate in that the sports and fitness pathway runs from National 4 or the equivalent of right through to second year degree. So pretty much our view would be if you're passionate and you show that in an interview, we'll find a place for you on the right course. Okay, so yeah, I would imagine that would be a guaranteed place.
Can I ask, for those students who are travelling and have to move down here or whichever, what happens when it comes to club basis rugby? Is there help if they want to reallocate to a club down here, or is it suggested you stay with the club you play with?
That's probably another question with the academy as well.
It would be a discussion based on what's best for the player. We wouldn't say you have to go and play here. We could give advice, but yeah, we wouldn't say you must play at this club. It would be the player's choice on if they stayed at their current club or if they went to somewhere closer.
Yeah, what we didn't want is to almost have as if it was a factory that we were creating for clubs. So I think, and I think that's the strength of the course as well, is that we're working in partnership. It's not just a college course. We're working in partnership with Scottish Rugby. We're working in partnership with Dundee United, Dundee Football Club. We know we've got international athletes in other sports that are looking to apply or have applied. So that partnership working with the national governing body and all clubs is paramount. Yep.
For someone relocating from school, does the funding you were talking about go towards accommodation? And how far along the line are you with appetite on halls and stuff like that?
Okay, so the question was in terms of funding. So if you're a school leaver and if you're relocating, whether or not you get funding to accommodation.
Yeah.
And also, where are we in terms of accommodation with appetite? So, in accommodation with appetite, I've had various correspondence backwards and forwards. I've got a missed call today, so I need to go back to appetite in terms of having those conversations. That would be at the halls, but equally as a college, I know, for example, we have a number of international students, and therefore we do have a preferred supplier, if you like, of accommodation. In terms of funding for accommodation, so my understanding, and correct me, so my understanding is that it's classified as a further education course. So there is bursary funding in terms of course fees are paid for. Depending on household income, would depend on, I'm doing well, aren't I? Would depend on potential money going into individuals' accounts, i.e. bursary, which is paid every 2 weeks.
Age is a factor as well.
Age is a factor as well.
Yeah.
And potentially, if there was accommodation costs,
Apply for housing.
can apply for housing. Does that help?
Yeah.
Got two experts here, so please do not leave if you've got specific questions. Those are the people that will give you the right information. We're often encouraged not to give the information in case it's wrong. So they're the people that you can speak to. Any other questions? No. We ran the football performance last year, and out of the 17 that started, 4 got professional contracts, and 1 who was female went from playing for Dundee to 4 for Farmington and is now in the international squad. So we think it works, in terms of that specific focus, in terms of attention to detail. There's rigorous, robust fitness testing, which again can be done in partnership or can be done in isolation. There's specific S&C, which is for you guys, which again will be designed in partnership. Technology in terms of analysis, the daily logs, and I think in terms of that kind of the wider view of, my first aim is to be a professional rugby player, but this also gives you other options, and realistic options, If you are someone who's coming through with hires already, you can do the rugby performance course and then do the equivalent, if you're interested in sports and fitness, your first and second year degree with us, Statistically, people that do their HND in sports and fitness with us have a higher chance of getting a 2-1 or a first at Abate than students who started in year 1. Again, I think we're really proud as a department of what we have. As I say, when you're between 12 and 20% above the national average and you've been at the top for 3 years, we work so hard to make sure that we maintain that. because we're competitive like you guys. So we want to, we keep striving for making those improvements. Okay. I'm around at the end. You will be around at the end as well if you want to ask questions offline. That's fine. Other than that, no.
From John King.
Go on.
John King is one of our lecturers. He delivers the strength and conditioning. So he felt sorry for us because we hadn't had a question via email.
He's obviously watching it up in the office.
Yeah. The question is, how do you intend to measure and track improvements in physical performance as the academic year progresses?
Okay, so, I know for a fact that course last year, they had a barrage of tests prior to the summer holiday. They were then given a programme over the summer holiday. They were then tested when they came back after the summer holiday to see whether or not we can tell whether or not you've actually been working on your programme. And again, that was in terms of, it gave us an indication of maybe who would be high risk and who wouldn't in terms of the course. In terms of analysis, we obviously have the video analysis software, so we would be looking to utilise that. There was an element of psychology profiling almost. So certainly with our football players, we identified, what makes a professional, what is the utopia of a professional in terms of psychology, and we got the students to think about themselves, where are their strengths and weaknesses in terms of psychology. And they did a number of workshops in terms of that. But yeah, over the academic year, there'll be certain trigger points whereby we'll be looking to test. And again, that will be done in partnership with the academy. Good question, John. Okay. That's us. Thank you very much. We've got some handouts if you want more information about other courses as well as the sports performance course. I know, I think Bruce probably emailed the sports performance course out to you. If you've got that, great. If you haven't, there's more copies down here. We've also got all of our other courses. So, if you're thinking, well, I'll do sports performance 1 year, but I'm going to come back and maybe do some of the other courses, then those are there as well. Thank you very much.
Boys, that's you. Appreciate it, mate. I'll apply to some of you.